right, so this is a review of what I am expecting out of your lab reports for the Exploring Osmosis lab. So let's go ahead and pull up the rubric first. So here is the Exploring Osmosis Formal Lab Report rubric. Over here you'll see the different sections in the report. So there is the hypotheses section, the data table section, the chart you have to make, the data analysis you will be writing, and the conclusion you will be writing. And this whole assignment is worth 100 points. And so there is a point breakdown along here that tells you exactly what I'm looking for in order for you to get, in order for you to receive either an excellent, satisfactory, needs improvement, or unacceptable score in each of these sections. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back up to the first page. So worth, I believe it was 10 points, you need to have 3 statements here. Now, they don't necessarily have to be in, like, with a space in between them. They can be all in one sentence or in a few sentences, but you need to have 3 statements because you're talking about 3 different types of solutions. That's what it says. Make predictions about each of the 3 types of water: tap water, distilled water, and salt water. And you are predicting how those differing solutions will affect the size of the gummy bear. So you need to talk about distilled, you need to talk about tap, you need to talk about salt water. And you need to use the if-then format. If I place a gummy bear in distilled water for 24 hours, then the gummy bear will, and then you make a prediction. Then the gummy bear will get bigger, or then the gummy bear will get smaller, or then the gummy bear will stay the same size. And you need to do this for each of these 3 things. So in order to get that full 10 points, you need to have 3 total predictions. It needs to be an if-then statement. It needs to reference both of the variables. So there's an independent variable and a dependent variable. So make sure you've correctly identified that, because that is what is included in a hypothesis. And then this, I just included this here for utilize as academic language for if you make this a little bit more academic. Like I said, this is kind of not like unadvanced, but it's just kind of bland, you know. So if you do want to spice it up a little bit, not too much. Don't waver from this format too much. But if you can get away with sounding a little more scientific, a little more older maybe, then that is up to you. All right, so the next section we'll be looking at is the data table section, and this is worth 15 points. And in order to get the full 15 points for this, you need to have every section filled out. You need to be using the correct units, and your data needs to contain 2 decimal points at least. Okay, now if I did not tell your period, if I did not remind your period about this the first time, it's okay. But the second day, on day 2, I reminded everybody. So on day 2, there are no exceptions for this. So this is what your data table needs to look like. You need to have gummy bear number 1 in the tap water. You need to have the color here. And then you need to have 3 different measurements for day 1, day 2, and day 3, and they need to be in this format. So x.xx centimeters cubed, x.xx centimeters cubed. You need to have all of these data points, data slots filled. Okay, and if you want to know how I made this 3 superscript, what you do is you highlight it. So I won't do it again. I'll just do it to the C. You highlight the letter. You go up to Format. You go to Text, and then you click Superscript. And see how it made that small? So that's how I did that to that 3 if you want to get fancy. All right, next step is the chart that you are supposed to insert in. And if you have not already watched the video for this, please pull that up now. I have a whole video on how to do this. So make sure you watch that video, and that tells you everything that you need for this chart. The chart is worth a total of 20 points. Oh, and this is... Of course, I always notice an incorrect number here, so let me just fix that. Actually, there we go, that's fine. Okay, so the chart is worth 20 points, and in order to get that full 20 points, you need the correct format. You need to have a title, your X and Y axes labeled, you need to have a key, it needs to be in the correct scale, and you need to have both gummy bears present, so both 1 and 2, and it should look neat and personalize it. Colors, font, but don't get too crazy, don't spend too much time on that, that's last resort. All right, then the huge chunks that are very important in this lab report, the data analysis section, which is 35 points, and the conclusion section, which is 20 points. Do not skip out on these. This is over half the points in the assignment. This is 55 points, over half. All right, so in order to get the full 35 points in the data analysis section, you need to have all the required information. So when you go to this page, you read this section, you need to have everything here. So it says, please explain the independent variable, the dependent variable, the control group, the experimental group, and the constants. So this is an example that I did. You do not need to follow this. You can if you would like to. You just need to change up the phrasing whenever possible. You can use different sentence starters and include some additional explanations if necessary. But in order to get those full points, you need to have everything it asks for. It asks for you to compare it to a graph, look for patterns, what happened after day 1, what happened after day 2. And then which caused a greater change in size overall, tap water or the distilled water? Why do you think that is? So every one of those elements you need to answer. And the error analysis, you need to write at least 3 ways your data may not be completely accurate, and you need to have a specific solution to prevent this problem for each error. So like here I put my data may not be entirely accurate due to blank, and I listed off 3 things. Then I said next time I could blank, or I could blank in order to fix those 3 problems. All right, and then just make sure you always want to reread over your work. So if for the full 35 points, you need to make sure there are no punctuation or spelling errors, that you're typing incorrect, using correct grammar, and that you are thinking through your answers, so you have well thought out answers. You need to have minimal factual errors, so you need to have your notes out, and you need to call me over if you are confused about something. And if you utilize academic language or just pretty much just using advanced language, then you are hitting every requirement in this category. All right, and just so I'm highlighting this, if you are in the satisfactory category, it is possible to only lose 1 point here. So just because you aren't perfect at writing or something doesn't mean you're gonna be automatically like in needs improvement. Okay, I will take that into account, but it is possible to be still high up there just in the satisfactory category. It all depends on your effort, how much effort you put in, and whether you ask me for help. Okay, last section is the conclusion section, which is worth 20 points. And in order to get the full 20 points, you need to have all the required information that it asks for. So same thing again. You need to address the following topics. Does the data support your hypothesis or not? So I put the data I collected, and then you would say either supported or rejected my hypotheses. And if you had, if your data supported 2 of them but not the third, then you need to talk about that. Oh, this was supposed to be gone. That's all right. Okay, so the gummy bears blanked when placed in distilled and tap water overnight, and blank in size when placed in salt water overnight. Also, the results turned out this way because, and then give an explanation. And then down here, I started talking about, this was number 3, real world application. So connect what you learned in this lab to what we learned in our notes about osmosis. So especially everything that we did in that handout on the applying cell transport. Hugely important. If you want to grab that from the front, feel free and find yours if you want to use some of that information. But again, you need to read thoroughly, and you need to answer every part of the question. And if you need any help at all, please flag me down. I would love to help you. All right, and then as the same with the data analysis section, you need to make sure you use spell check, reread your work, have someone else look over it. I'd be happy to look over it. Contain minimal factual errors, so double check yourself, check your notes, check the handout from the other day. And again, if you are utilizing academic language, or you are just using advanced language, then you're also hitting every one of these requirements. All right, that's pretty much it. Remember, this assignment is huge. This is worth a full 100 points. It is the same exact amount of points as all of your tests. So do not take this lightly. Please work hard, and please ask me for help. Please ask me for help, okay? Do the best you can, and all right, I think that's it. Good luck.